Hey, so before the video starts, I just want to say a massive thank you for all the support recently. I put a ton of effort and work into this video, so I'd really appreciate if you guys could drop a like to support the channel. A lot of editing and a lot of time went into this, so it'd be great if you could just support the channel. If you're new, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more NBA content, and if you want, you can follow me on Instagram. And I hope you guys enjoy the video. Here are the best NBA duos who ended up playing against each other at one point in their careers. Looking at some of the greatest duos of all time, it's weird to believe that they versed each other at some point in their careers. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, Kobe and Shaq, Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter. All these duos at one point in their careers were duos that were scary, they were formidable. Every team that went up against them did not want to face up against them because they knew that these two duos would just be killers on the court. But players get traded, they leave in free agency, things happen. And these are the times that they ended up facing off against each other. So without further ado, let's take a look. Keep in mind, this is not in any order.
Today, Shaquille O'Neal of the Los Angeles Lakers makes his much anticipated return to Orlando.
Penny Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal. As a new franchise, the Orlando Magic didn't have a lot of trouble getting off the ground. They drafted Shaquille O'Neal, who was the most dominant player the league has ever seen, and then a few years later they drafted the top shooting guard who ended up being a point guard in Penny Hardaway.
I met him on a set of Blue Chips, and I came back and I tested out my general manager skills, because you hear other people, Jordan got him traded, so I was like, you know what, I'm the guy on the team, let me test this out. Go up to John Gabriel and say, listen, I know we got the first pick and I know you want C-Web, but I'm just coming off this movie set, and this guy, Penny Hardaway, he's the man, we need to get him. And the first day, and then I kind of had to throw it out there. Well, if you don't get me the guard I need, my deal's coming up in 2 years, I may have to do something else. Politely, respectfully, and they said, okay. But then they picked C-Web, and I damn near tore my house up. Like, oh, you lied to me, but I was upset. And then, wait, and then I saw them switch hats, I was like, okay. They kept their promise. Now let's get it cracking.
And Shaq made a good call. Penny and Shaq went on to be a dynamic duo. They were hard to face off against. They were seen as competitors to MJ and the Chicago Bulls at the time. Penny was seen as the next MJ coming into the league at 6'6", a similar frame with handles, he could get to the rim, he could shoot, and Shaq at that time was one of the greatest big men in the league. The pairing was so good, in fact, that they made it to the NBA Finals. Obviously, they ended up losing, and the partnership didn't really last too long after that. O'Neal decided that he wanted to go elsewhere and headed to the Los Angeles Lakers. He ended up winning 3 NBA championships, so maybe it was a good call, but this duo could have been something special if they stayed together.
The chance to play with Penny in Orlando. Why did that run its course?
I admit, I was a championship chaser. I was a championship chaser, one, and two, I was an opportunity chaser. I was a little bit selfish, but I had to be, because, I wanted to be one of the most dominant player ever. But I never told anybody this, but when I left and I used to watch y'all play, I started saying to myself, did I make a mistake? Because I really miss you guys, because we didn't have the same, and everybody knows this, we didn't have the same camaraderie out there than we had there.
It's a what-if scenario. Had Shaq and Penny stayed in Orlando, could they have beaten out other teams? Because in the end, Penny Hardaway was one of the greatest point guards of all time, and Shaquille O'Neal was one of the greatest centers of all time. Shaq has referred to Penny Hardaway as his Kobe before Kobe, but Hardaway was a different player to the way that Kobe became. And obviously Kobe ended up being the second greatest shooting guard of all time, but Shaq didn't leave Penny for Kobe. He left Penny to head to LA.
What was going through your mind you coming back as a Laker the first time, knowing everything that you had built here?
At the arena, boo, trader, boo, exactly what I wanted.
At center, 7-1 from LSU, number 34, Shaquille O'Neal.
Man, it was almost, you could feel the energy from the entire city that we wanted to beat the Lakers really badly because he left. But it was just trying to show Shaq, man, you should have stayed, man. You shouldn't have left.
All right, Jones looking to inbound. Shaq pops out and takes it near midcourt, gives it to Fox. Fox on the drive, gives in the corner to Jones. A three-point shot, no good. Shay's rebound, and it's over.
In addition, Shaq and Penny actually did end up playing together. At one point in their careers, they ended up playing for the Miami Heat, and obviously by this stage, Penny Hardaway was a lot older and couldn't really produce. Shaq was still playing at a high level, but it wasn't the Penny and Shaq that we remember from Orlando.
and Penny Hardaway starting at the small forward. Here comes Wade. O'Neal. Backs it in.
Steve Nash and Amar'e Stoudemire. Easily one of the greatest pick and roll duos to ever play the game. Steve Nash was one of the greatest facilitators the game has ever seen, and Amar'e Stoudemire could throw it down over anybody. Steve Nash and Amar'e Stoudemire and that Phoenix Suns team with Mike D'Antoni was a very tough team to stop. The Suns were challenging. They would win as much as 62 games, but would never make it as far as the Western Conference Finals. But in the end, Amar'e Stoudemire had knee problems. He wasn't able to stay healthy, and even though Steve Nash and Amar'e Stoudemire were a dynamic duo, Amar'e would opt out of his contract with the Phoenix Suns, which made him an unrestricted free agent. He left Steve Nash and the Phoenix Suns and ended up joining New York. But this dynamic duo ended up versing each other later on. As for Steve Nash, he started to decline. He ended up staying in Phoenix, but he was 35 years of age at that stage, and then he would end up going to the Lakers to end his career, and obviously we know how that turned out. But had Amar'e been able to stay healthy, had the Phoenix Suns just been able to push over the Lakers, this team could have made an NBA Finals.
The Los Angeles Lakers have taken the Western Conference Final in 6. The defending champions making it back to the NBA Finals, and they will face the Boston Celtics.
With a two-time MVP and Amar'e Stoudemire, who was one of the best big men in the game at that stage, was an insane team to watch. Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady.
Well, Tracy McGrady not welcomed by Raptor fans. You will remember that Tracy was drafted by the Toronto Raptors, but he did not like the shadow of his cousin Vince Carter. So instead of following, Tracy wanted to lead, and that led him back to Orlando.
As we all know, Vince Carter basically brought NBA basketball to Toronto. He transcended the Toronto Raptors and made them one of the most exciting teams to watch. His athleticism and his style of play was just insane to watch. He could throw it down like nobody had ever thrown it down before. He's the best dunker of all time. And then a few years later, they drafted his cousin. Tracy McGrady was not the Tracy McGrady that ended up being the superstar in Orlando and then Houston. Despite his injuries, he was still one of the greatest shooting guard small forwards of all time. Had Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady stayed together in Toronto, this dynamic duo could have been one of the best duos to ever play.
We have this platform right now, and I've never said this.
Okay.
I wish I had stayed, man.
Really?
I swear. I swear I wish I had stayed.
Really?
Because, yeah, I mean, I've grown, you know, the 2 years that we played together. But I knew I could have continued to, you know, elevate my game and evolve into the player that I became, even playing alongside of him. And I regret that I did leave, because Toronto was a beautiful city.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I mean, it was so easy for us.
Right.
But obviously, as we know, Tracy McGrady didn't like playing in Toronto, and he wanted to be the star.
He was looking for his opportunity to be the superstar that he became.
He went to Orlando and he became that star. He ended up getting Grant Hill, but the two ended up being injured. And obviously Vince Carter resented Tracy McGrady for leaving him, because in the end, Vince Carter believed that this duo could have taken the league by storm for the next few seasons. Vince was young, Tracy McGrady was even younger, and Vince saw them going to the finals for many years. Tracy thought otherwise and left.
Let's play the feud. Couldn't talk me out of it. I mean, I hated Vince, I hated to leave you, but it's a business, baby. I hated to leave, but, you know, I had to do what's best for me.
It hurt a little bit, you know, but that's the way it goes, and, you know, I slept on it. It's over with now. But definitely, it's tough to swallow. I guess when you think they feel one way, and when they leave, you know, here comes the truth, I guess.
I didn't get as much as playing time as he did. It was Vince Carter's show.
I'm not going to get caught up in that, and I don't want it to seem like it's a battle. It's a he said, he said, and all that kind of stuff. It's not necessary, and maybe that's what they want, but you know, I'm not going to do that.
I know his moves. He better get some new moves. I know him.
Which caused some resentment for Vince, even though they were cousins. They didn't talk for a while, but in the end, they're good cousins and friends now. The Alonzo, Mourning, and Larry Johnson duo.
And fists are flying at the other end. Larry Johnson is one of them. Yeah, it was Johnson and Mourning all the way. And that's old blood.
The duo on the court was incredible to watch. Larry Johnson was a high-flying, athletic beast, and Alonzo Mourning was one of the greatest defenders the game has ever seen. But these two had drama, and that's what made this duo even better when they faced off against each other. Not only did they have drama, but they played for the two teams with one of the biggest rivalries the game has ever seen, the Miami Heat and the New York Knicks, which eventually led to this duo, who at one point in time was seen as one of the brightest and best youngest duos in the NBA, to a massive punch-on in the 1998 NBA playoffs. The beef all started in Charlotte when Alonzo Mourning would publicly complain about how much Larry Johnson was making. And then Larry Johnson started to slowly see more touches, and he would see Alonzo Mourning becoming one of the premier centers in the game, and then it just kind of blew up from there. The Knicks would acquire Larry Johnson, and eventually the Miami Heat would acquire Alonzo Mourning. And if you could rewind back to the 1994-1995 season, Mourning and Larry Johnson led the Hornets to a 50-win season and reached the playoffs, and they were still extremely young, which is why people thought that this duo could be something special in the future. Instead, a few years later, they were fighting on the court. Number 4, Kyrie Irving and LeBron James.
It's a young guy, aka Kyrie Irving, aka Uncle Drew, Byrie, whatever y'all want to call him. He thought I was blowing smoke up his ass early in the season when I said he could be the best point guard in our league and also be an MVP in our league. And he's only 24 years, oh my goodness. He's only 24. He don't reach his prime for another 3 years. Thank you, Kyrie.
Oh man, that guy is, I think that some people would say that he's on the toe, he's on the line of greatness, but that guy is way over. Man, he's freaking awesome.
This one is most recent, and even though these two teammates didn't play a long time together, we all know that they brought Cleveland their first championship, and they did it together. Kyrie Irving had hit some of the greatest and most clutch shots the game has ever seen, and LeBron James obviously had the chase down block and put up some of the best numbers that the game has ever seen during an NBA Finals performance. And once LeBron James returned to Cleveland, people thought that Kyrie Irving and LeBron James would be a dynamic duo that could last the Cleveland Cavaliers until LeBron James retired. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. After LeBron James and Kyrie Irving had brought the NBA World a championship, beating the Golden State Warriors, who were the greatest team that the league has ever seen record-wise, Kyrie Irving demanded a trade. He left the Cleveland Cavaliers and left LeBron.
When he was ready to take over the keys, I was ready to give them to him. So the only thing I'm upset about is that he took a lot of the DNA and the blueprints now to Boston. That's the only thing I'm upset about, really. Other than that, I mean, I wish the kid great health, and the kid wanted to do what was best for his, for his career.
Kyrie ended up going to Boston, claiming that he wanted to be the star player and didn't want to play alongside LeBron. He didn't want to be that sidekick. As we all know now, Kyrie Irving eventually apologized to LeBron, and obviously his career hasn't really bounced back to being an NBA Finals player. But it created for some special moments. This was a dynamic duo who ended up facing each other just a few years after they'd won that NBA championship. LeBron was in a Lakers uniform and Kyrie was in a Celtics uniform, which is the two biggest NBA team rivalries the league has ever seen. That is something that you would never expected after Kyrie and LeBron had lifted that NBA championship up in Cleveland for the first time. Number 3, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook.
Starting at forward, 6'9" from Texas, number 35, Kevin Durant.
Of course, this is another one that is oh so recent. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were one of the best dynamic duos the league has ever seen. 2011 NBA Finals, they had made it, even at such a young age. Of course, they had guys like James Harden and Serge Ibaka, who were also instrumental to the team, but it was Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook that was the real dynamic duo here. This was one of the greatest duos of all time. Russ was an MVP, KD was an MVP, and they worked well together. Russ would attack the paint, and Kevin Durant would be able to score on any possession. Once Kevin Durant left though, he betrayed his teammate. The next year, Russell Westbrook would end up winning the MVP, and Kevin Durant would end up winning a championship. And for the next few seasons, Kevin Durant would win multiple championships, while Russell Westbrook would try and lead his team to the playoffs, and eventually he would get guys like Paul George to help him, but as we all know, things have changed. Westbrook's in a Houston jersey, back with James Harden, and Kevin Durant is now on the Brooklyn Nets. But when this duo first faced each other for the first time, everybody can remember that. We know how intense it was. Kevin Durant was hearing boos. Westbrook was getting in his face. It was a very, very exciting and very fun game to watch. Number 2, Kobe and Shaq.
I had the opportunity, to play against guys like Shaq and of course Byron Scott, Eddie Jones, Ceballos, and it's been a great training camp so far. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it to the fullest.
I'm sure you all expected this. Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal is one of the greatest duos of all time, and there is no debating that. And obviously Kobe Bryant is one of the greatest players of all time, and he was a killer on the court. There is no limit to how many championships this team could have won, because there was no stopping Shaq and Kobe. No matter if they hated each other, no team was going to stop them. Apart from the 04 Pistons, but, never mind that.
We come, create a super team, Gary called, we make it back to the finals.
Between the circles, snaps the pass to Rip. He'll step up, baseline left.
And we can do it, and everything just capitulated from there. And that sits with me. That sits with me, because we should have won that.
But obviously the Lakers had to deal with a lot at that time. Kobe, Shaq, it wasn't going to work out. We know that they ended after that year, but Shaq was still that good that he would win a championship the next year, and Kobe was still that good that he'd win multiple championships only a few seasons later, and eventually win more NBA championships than Shaquille O'Neal.
The LA Lakers, the 2010 NBA champions.
5 rings. 5 of them.
Do you think I was pissed when you got number 5?
Of course you were.
Oh,
no doubt.
I tore my house up.
No doubt. I bet you did.
No, I went crazy.
And this dynamic duo could have won so many more, but ego got in the way, and they were never able to be the best duo ever. Because in my opinion, at number 1, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. 6 NBA championships. You can't compare.
But for the first time, we see Michael Jordan matched up against his old teammate Scottie Pippen.
Exchange pleasantries before the game.
This duo was there from the start to the end. There was nobody that pushed MJ more than Scottie Pippen. Even if it wasn't physically like MJ would do to his teammates, Pippen would abuse him verbally too. MJ and Pippen were defensively the greatest stoppers in the game, and obviously MJ is the greatest player of all time. So when you look at this photo and this game, it's just extremely weird to see them. When they faced off against each other for the first time, MJ being in a Washington Wizards jersey, Pippen being in a Portland Trail Blazers jersey, it was just something that no NBA fan thought would actually happen in the 1990s. Because think about it. It's just like playing an NBA 2K game. It's just something that you couldn't fathom if you didn't see it. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think. These were just the NBA duos that were some of the greatest duos who ended up facing off against each other. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button to support the channel. If you're new around here, why not hit that subscribe button for more NBA content every single week, and hit the notification button so you never miss an upload. If you want, follow me on Instagram, and with that said, it's your boy Nick Smith. I am out. Peace.